Have you ever noticed that the strongest people rarely argue? They don't rush to defend themselves. They don't waste hours proving they're right. And they certainly don't react to every insult thrown their way. While everyone else is trapped in emotional battles, they remain calm, silent, untouchable. At first, this behavior seems strange. Most people believe that if someone disrespects you, you must respond. If someone criticizes you, you must explain yourself. If someone misunderstands you, you must clear your name immediately. But what if that's exactly what weakens you? What if every unnecessary reaction quietly gives away your power? The truth is, most people don't lose because they're wrong. They lose because they're emotional. Every time you react without thinking, you hand control of your emotions to someone else. The moment another person can predict your reaction, they can influence your decisions. They can disturb your peace. They can steal your attention. That is why emotionally intelligent people understand a lesson that most never learn. Silence is often stronger than the perfect argument. Think about it. Have you ever spent hours explaining yourself to someone who had already decided not to understand you? No matter what you said, nothing changed. Not because your explanation was weak, because their opinion was already made. Many people don't ask questions to understand you. They ask questions to challenge you. They don't criticize you to help you grow. They criticize you because your confidence makes them uncomfortable. Once you understand this, everything begins to change. You stop trying to win every conversation. You stop trying to convince everyone. You stop giving strangers unlimited access to your emotions. Instead, you begin protecting your peace. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. If someone throws mud at your reflection, would you spend the entire day arguing with the mirror? Of course not. You simply walk away. Life works the same way. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding deserves an explanation. Not every insult deserves your attention. Some people want answers. Others only want reactions. Learn the difference. The strongest individuals understand that attention is one of the most valuable things they possess. Once they give it away, they can never get it back. That is why they become extremely selective about where their energy goes. They don't react to gossip. They don't respond to every negative comment. They don't chase people who have already chosen to misunderstand them because they know one simple truth. The more you explain yourself, the more you convince others that their opinion controls you. Real confidence never begs to be understood. It remains calm, it remains patient, it remains focused. Most people mistake silence for weakness, but silence often requires far more strength than speaking. Anyone can lose control, anyone can shout, anyone can argue. Very few people can remain calm while everyone else is emotional. That is discipline. That is emotional mastery. And that is exactly what separates powerful people from ordinary people. There is an old saying, never wrestle with someone who enjoys living in the mud, because no matter who wins, you'll both end up dirty. Many people spend years trying to defend their reputation, trying to prove they're good enough, trying to correct every rumor, trying to answer every critic without realizing it. They're spending their entire life fighting battles that should never have existed. The strongest people choose a different path. They allow time to reveal the truth because truth doesn't panic. Truth doesn't rush. Truth doesn't need constant defense. Character eventually speaks louder than explanations ever could. This is where real freedom begins. The moment you stop feeling responsible for everyone's opinion. The moment you realize you don't need permission to become the person you were meant to be. And the moment you understand that your greatest power isn't found in your words, it's found in your ability to remain calm when everyone expects you to react, because every unnecessary reaction costs something. Your peace, your focus, your confidence, your future. The question is, how much longer are you willing to keep paying that price? Most people believe strength is measured by how loudly you defend yourself. But real strength is measured by how little you allow other people to control your emotions. The moment someone can make you angry on command, they've already gained power over you. Think about the people who constantly provoke others. They rarely seek understanding. They seek a reaction. They know that once emotions take over, logic disappears. Calmness disappears. Good judgment disappears. And suddenly, you become exactly what they wanted you to become, reactive. That is why emotionally disciplined people never rush to respond. Pause. They observe. They ask themselves one simple question. Is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. Every argument has a price. Sometimes that price is your time. Sometimes it's your reputation. Sometimes it's your relationships. And sometimes it's your peace of mind. The strongest people refuse to pay that price unnecessarily. Imagine someone throwing a burning piece of coal towards you. You have two choices: catch it or let it fall. Many people catch it, not with their hands, but with their emotions. They replay hurtful words for days. They keep thinking about criticism. They lose sleep over someone who has already forgotten the conversation. Why? Because they accepted something they never needed to carry. Learn this lesson. Not every opinion deserves space inside your mind. Not every insult deserves a place in your memory. The more attention you give negativity, the stronger it becomes. The less attention you give it, the weaker it becomes. That is why silence is so powerful. Silence frustrates people who are expecting an emotional reaction. Silence confuses those who wanted control. Silence protects your dignity when words would only create regret. There will always be people who misunderstand you, people who judge you without knowing your story, people who criticize your choices because they don't understand your purpose. Trying to explain yourself to all of them is impossible, even if you speak perfectly. Some people will still choose not to listen. Accept that. The moment you stop needing everyone to understand you, life becomes much lighter. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight. You stop fighting battles that don't matter. You stop proving your worth to people who have already decided to ignore it. Confidence grows in that silence, not because the criticism disappears, but because it no longer controls you. Ask yourself this: how many opportunities have you lost because you spent too much time defending yourself? How many peaceful days became stressful simply because someone else's opinion occupied your mind? How much energy has been wasted on arguments that changed absolutely nothing? Imagine if all that energy had been invested in your goals instead, your skills, your health, your future. The results would be extraordinary. That is why emotionally intelligent people protect their attention more carefully than anything else, because attention is life. Where your attention goes, your future follows. If you constantly focus on critics, your life becomes centered around criticism. If you focus on growth, your life begins to grow. Every day you have a choice: react or rise above it, argue or improve yourself, explain or let your actions speak. Those who master this choice quietly separate themselves from the crowd, not because they are stronger than everyone else, but because they have learned something most people never will. Peace is too valuable to be exchanged for someone else's opinion. There is another mistake that keeps millions of people emotionally exhausted. They believe every accusation deserves an explanation. It doesn't. In fact, the more you explain yourself to the wrong people, the weaker you appear. Think about it. When someone truly respects you, a simple explanation is enough. When someone has already decided to misunderstand you, no explanation will ever be enough. That is the difference most people fail to recognize. They waste hours, sometimes years, trying to convince people who never intended to change their minds. Why? Because they fear being misunderstood. But here's the truth. No matter how honest you are, someone will still question your intention. No matter how kind you are, someone will still call you selfish. No matter how successful you become, someone will still criticize your journey. You cannot control that. And the moment you stop trying, you reclaim your freedom. Imagine walking through a forest. A dog begins barking at you from behind a fence. Do you stop your journey to explain where you're going? Do you argue with the dog until it understands your destination? Of course not. You continue walking. Life is exactly the same. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your response. The strongest people understand that explanations are expensive. Every explanation costs time. Every explanation costs emotional energy. Every explanation pulls your focus away from your own mission. People who constantly explain themselves often live according to other people's expectations. Instead of asking, "What do I truly want?" they ask, "How can I make everyone understand?" That question becomes a prison, because you'll never satisfy everyone. Someone will always disagree. Someone will always complain. Someone will always create another misunderstanding. If your peace depends on universal approval, you'll never experience peace. Real confidence accepts being misunderstood, not because it enjoys criticism, but because it understands something deeper. Character doesn't need constant advertising. Integrity doesn't need daily announcements. Truth doesn't panic. Truth has patience. Eventually, time reveals everything. The people who judged too quickly expose themselves. The people who remained honest continue moving forward. That is why emotionally mature individuals allow time to defend them. Their actions become their explanation. Their consistency becomes their argument. Their results become their answer. There is incredible freedom in reaching the point where you no longer feel obligated to explain every decision. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need approval to follow your purpose. You don't need validation to believe in yourself. The less you explain, the more your confidence begins speaking for you. Notice how truly successful people behave. They don't hold endless meetings to defend every rumor. They don't spend every day answering every critic. They keep building. They keep improving. They keep moving because they understand something powerful. Success is the loudest explanation you'll ever give. Let people doubt you. Let people misunderstand you. Let people underestimate you. Then quietly become everything they believed you couldn't. Nothing silences unnecessary criticism faster than undeniable results. So before you explain yourself, again, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I speaking to someone who wants understanding or someone who only wants a reaction? Your answer will save you years of unnecessary frustration. Sometimes the strongest sentence you'll ever say is nothing at all. Ignoring someone is often misunderstood. People think ignoring is rude, weak, or immature. But there is a difference between ignoring a person and ignoring unnecessary negativity. The first can damage relationships. The second protects your peace. Emotionally strong people know exactly where to draw that line. They don't ignore people who genuinely care about them. They don't ignore honest advice. They don't ignore constructive criticism. But they do ignore manipulation, disrespect, jealousy, mind games, and unnecessary conflict. Because they understand one important truth. Whatever receives your attention grows. If you constantly feed negativity, negativity grows. If you constantly feed drama, drama grows. If you constantly feed gossip, gossip becomes part of your life. Your attention is like water. Whatever you pour it into will continue growing. So ask yourself, what are you watering every single day? Your dreams or your distractions? Many people become emotionally exhausted because they respond to everything, every message, every comment, every insult, every opinion. By the end of the day, their mind feels heavy, not because life is difficult, but because they carried problems that never belonged to them. Imagine walking through a busy street. People are talking everywhere. Cars are moving, voices surround you. Do you stop and respond to every stranger you hear? Of course not. You continue walking toward your destination. Life should be no different. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves space inside your mind. The strongest people remain focused because they know exactly what to ignore. There will always be people who dislike your success, people who criticize your confidence, people who become uncomfortable when you begin changing your life. Don't fight them. Don't explain yourself. Don't try to convince them. Keep moving. Nothing frustrates negative people more than someone who refuses to become emotional. Silence removes their power. Ignoring removes their influence. Your progress becomes your answer. Think about how much energy people waste every year. Hours spent arguing online, days spent proving themselves, weeks spent replaying conversations, months spent worrying about what someone else thinks. Imagine investing all that time into learning a new skill. building your health, growing your business, strengthening your character, your entire future would look different. That is why mentally disciplined people become extremely protective of their attention. They know attention is limited. Once it's wasted, it can never be recovered. So they ask themselves one simple question before reacting. Will this matter next month? If the answer is no, they let it go. Not because they are weak, because they have something far more important to protect. Their future. The people who constantly react remain trapped in the present. The people who learn to ignore unnecessary distractions quietly build a better tomorrow. Sometimes, the greatest act of strength isn't proving someone wrong. It's refusing to let them distract you from where you're going. Because every minute you spend looking backward is one less minute moving forward. Protect your focus, protect your peace, and never allow temporary negativity to become a permanent interruption to your purpose. There comes a point in life when you realize something most people never understand. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Some battles are designed to distract you, to steal your focus, to drain your energy, to keep you from becoming the person you're capable of becoming. The strongest people recognize these distractions immediately. They don't confuse movement with progress. They don't mistake arguments for victories. They understand that winning an unnecessary fight is still a loss if it costs your peace. Think about an archer aiming at a distant target. The moment they look away, even for a second, their accuracy disappears. Your goals work the same way. Every unnecessary argument pulls your attention away from the future you're trying to build. Every emotional reaction delays your progress. Every explanation steals time that could have been invested in yourself. Ask yourself honestly, how many dreams have been delayed because you were too busy defending yourself? How many opportunities disappeared while you were trying to prove someone wrong? How many peaceful days were destroyed by one person's opinion? Now imagine choosing a different path. Instead of reacting, you improve. Instead of arguing, you learn. Instead of explaining, you build. Day after day, your confidence becomes stronger, not because life becomes easier, but because your mind becomes calmer. People begin noticing something different about you. They notice you no longer respond to every criticism. You no longer seek approval. You no longer allow small problems to control your emotions. Some will admire this change. Others will become uncomfortable. Why? Because emotionally stable people are difficult to manipulate. If someone cannot control your emotions, they cannot easily control your decisions. That is real freedom. Many people spend their entire lives trying to change other people, trying to make everyone understand them, trying to fix every misunderstanding. But the wisest people focus somewhere else. They work on themselves, because self-mastery creates a life that explanations never could. Every hour spent improving yourself becomes an investment. Every book you read, every skill you learn, every healthy habit you build, every promise you keep to yourself. These quiet decisions shape your future far more than any argument ever will. Remember, your reputation is built by consistency, not by defending yourself every single day. People eventually believe what they repeatedly see, not what they repeatedly hear. Let your discipline become your introduction. Let your character become your explanation. Let your results become your response. Because success has a way of answering questions that words never can. The world is filled with noise. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants attention. Everyone wants the last word. Choose to be different. Choose peace over proving a point. Choose growth over gossip. Choose purpose over unnecessary conflict. One day, you'll realize the greatest victory was never convincing other people. The greatest victory was protecting your own mind while everyone else was losing theirs. There is another truth that separates emotionally strong people from everyone else. They understand that silence is not empty. Silence is strategic. Most people become uncomfortable the moment a conversation becomes quiet. They rush to fill the silence. They reveal too much. They defend themselves too quickly. They explain things that were never questioned. Without realizing it, they give away information that could have remained private. The strongest people don't fear silence. They use it. Silence allows them to observe, to think, to understand what other people are truly saying, because people often reveal far more than they intend, not through their words, but through their emotions. When someone becomes angry, they reveal their insecurities. When someone becomes jealous, they reveal what they secretly desire. When someone constantly criticizes others, they often reveal what they dislike about themselves. And this is why emotionally disciplined people spend more time observing than speaking. They know every conversation teaches something, if you're willing to listen. Imagine entering a room where everyone is talking at once. The loudest voice usually gets the most attention, but not always the most respect. Respect is often earned by the person who speaks only when their words truly matter, the person who chooses quality over quantity, the person who remains calm while everyone else becomes emotional. Silence creates mystery, and mystery naturally attracts respect. People begin wondering what you're thinking, what you're planning, why you remain so calm. The less you feel the need to prove yourself, the more confident you appear. Not because you're pretending, because you're genuinely secure within yourself. Many people talk because they want validation, they want agreement, they want reassurance. Emotionally strong people don't depend on any of those things. Their confidence comes from within. That is why criticism rarely shakes them, and praise rarely changes them. They remain balanced. They don't become arrogant when people admire them. Don't become discouraged when people doubt them, because they know both praise and criticism are temporary. Character is permanent. Learn to become comfortable with moments of silence. Not every pause needs to be filled. Not every question needs an immediate answer. Not every situation demands your opinion. Sometimes the wisest response is to watch, to listen, and to let time reveal what words never could. Silence gives you something arguments never will: perspective. And perspective allows you to make decisions based on wisdom instead of emotion. The people who master silence rarely regret their actions because they choose their words carefully. The people who react immediately often spend years wishing they had remained quiet. Remember, once words leave your mouth, you can never take them back. But silence always leaves you in control. The strongest person isn't always the one who speaks first. Very often, it's the one who knows exactly when not to speak at all. That quiet discipline becomes one of the greatest advantages you will ever possess. Because while everyone else is busy proving themselves, you'll be busy becoming someone who no longer needs to at some point. You have to make a decision. Will you spend your life reacting to everything around you, or will you start creating a life that no longer depends on other people's opinions? Most people never ask themselves this question. They wake up, check their phone, read comments, compare themselves with strangers, allow one negative opinion to ruin an entire day. Without realizing it, they're giving complete strangers control over their emotions. Think about how much power that gives away. Someone you've never met, someone who knows nothing about your struggles, your dreams, or your sacrifices, can completely change your mood with a single sentence. That is not freedom. That is emotional dependence. The strongest people refuse to live that way. They understand that every reaction is a choice. No one can force you to become angry. No one can force you to become offended. No one can force you to lose your peace. They can only present the situation. Your response belongs to you. That realization changes everything. Imagine your mind as a house. Would you hand your house keys to every stranger walking down the street? Of course not. Then why hand them the keys to your emotions? Every time you react impulsively, you're allowing someone else to enter your mind without permission. Protect that space. It is where your future is created. This is why emotionally disciplined people become extremely careful about what they allow into their thoughts. They don't consume endless negativity. They don't surround themselves with constant complaints. They don't waste hours discussing people who add no value to their lives. Instead, they ask themselves a different question. Will this help me become a better person? If the answer is no, they move on. Life becomes much simpler when you stop carrying emotional baggage that doesn't belong to you. The criticism, the gossip, the unnecessary arguments, the endless need to prove yourself. Leave them behind. Your future deserves more attention than your past. Your goals deserve more energy than your critics. Your peace deserves more protection than your ego. Many people spend years trying to change other people's opinions. Very few spend that same time changing themselves. Focus on what you can control. Your habits, your mindset, your discipline, your actions. Everything else is noise, and noise has only one purpose: to distract you from your mission. The moment you stop reacting to every distraction, Your life begins moving in the direction you've always wanted. Your confidence grows naturally. Your mind becomes quieter. Your decisions become wiser. And people begin noticing something different about you. Not because you're louder, but because you're calmer. There is incredible strength in becoming someone who cannot easily be disturbed. Someone who doesn't panic, doesn't overreact, doesn't chase unnecessary conflict, because that kind of person becomes impossible to manipulate. The world is full of people trying to get your attention. Very few deserve it. Choose carefully, protect your peace, guard your focus, and remember, every moment you refuse to react emotionally is another moment you invest in becoming stronger than you were yesterday. There is one habit that quietly destroys more potential than failure ever could: overreacting. One emotional decision can erase years of discipline. One angry message can destroy a valuable relationship. One careless response can damage a reputation that took years to build. That is why emotionally intelligent people never allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. They understand something most people learn too late. Emotions are temporary. Consequences are often permanent. Imagine driving a car at high speed. If you suddenly let go of the steering wheel for only a few seconds, the damage could be irreversible. Your emotions work the same way. The moment you stop controlling them, they begin controlling you. That is why the strongest people train themselves every single day, not to become emotionless, but to become emotionally disciplined. There is a huge difference. They still feel disappointment. They still feel anger. They still feel pain. The difference is they refuse to let those emotions decide their next move. Instead, they pause, they breathe, they think, then they act. That short pause changes everything. Many of life's biggest mistakes happen because people react too quickly. They quit too early, speak too soon, judge too fast, trust too easily, or destroy opportunities they later wish they had protected. Patience prevents many of those mistakes. Patience allows wisdom to catch up with emotion. Ask yourself honestly, how many problems in your life became worse because you reacted immediately? And how many problems solved themselves simply because you waited? Time has a remarkable way of exposing the truth. People eventually reveal who they really are. False accusations disappear. Temporary emotions fade. Situations become clearer, but only if you give them enough time. This is why mentally strong people trust time more than impulse. They understand that not every situation requires immediate action. Sometimes, doing nothing is the smartest decision you can make. Silence gives you clarity, distance gives you perspective, patience gives you wisdom. Together, they become a powerful shield against regret. Remember, every unnecessary reaction steals a piece of your future. Every moment of self-control builds it. One path creates chaos. The other creates confidence. Choose carefully, because the person you become tomorrow will be shaped by the reactions you choose to control today. Protect your peace. Protect your patience. Protect your purpose, because those three things will carry you further than anger ever could. The world will always give you reasons to react. Don't give it the satisfaction. Let your discipline speak louder than your emotions. Let your actions speak louder than your words. And let your results become the only explanation you ever need. One day, people will wonder how you remained so calm while everyone else lost control. They'll assume you were simply born that way. But you'll know the truth. Peace wasn't given to you. It was built. One decision, one moment of patience, and one act of self-control at a time as we reach the end of this journey. Take a moment to ask yourself one final question. How much of your life has been controlled by other people's opinions? How many opportunities did you miss because you were afraid of criticism? How many peaceful nights became stressful because you kept replaying someone else's words? How many dreams were delayed because you spent too much time explaining yourself? Now imagine a different future, a future where criticism no longer controls your emotions, where misunderstandings no longer steal your peace, where unnecessary arguments no longer distract you from your purpose. That future begins with one decision, the decision to master yourself. The world will always have opinions. Some people will support you, others will doubt you. Some will celebrate your success, others will secretly hope you fail. You cannot control any of that. But you can control one thing, your response. And that response determines the direction of your life. Never react just because someone expects you to. Never explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And never allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. Real confidence doesn't need constant approval. Real strength doesn't need loud announcements. Real power doesn't seek attention. It quietly continues moving forward. Remember, every minute you spend arguing with negativity is one less minute. Building the life you truly want, every second you waste proving yourself is a second you could have invested in becoming stronger. Choose growth. Choose discipline. Choose peace. The strongest people are not remembered because they won every argument. They are remembered because they stayed focused while everyone else was distracted. They refused to let noise interrupt their mission. They refused to let criticism define their identity. They refused to become prisoners of other people's opinions. That is the kind of strength that cannot be taken away. So from this moment forward, protect your mind, guard your emotions, value your time, respect your peace, and let your actions become louder than any explanation you could ever give. One day, the people who doubted you will see your progress. The people who criticized you will notice your discipline. The people who misunderstood you will witness your results. But by then, you won't need their approval anymore because you'll already know exactly who you are. If this message inspired you, leave a like. Subscribe for more timeless lessons on psychology, discipline, and mental strength. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. And remember